My wife and I offered a stranger to stay during a storm. I don't recall telling him he could sleep with my wife. When my wife woke me up to alert me about someone knocking on the door, I checked my phone. It was 2:15 in the morning. I hopped out of bed and threw on some basketball shorts in the dark. The lights were out. I flicked the switch by my nightstand a few times, and the light only flickered. My wife snapped. Quiet. Now he knows we're home. 3 more consistent knocks seemed to confirm her theory. 3 more knocks. They sounded hurried now. I stumbled into the living room and reached for the trusty bat waiting in its spot behind the couch. The knocks began to lose all rhythm at all. The owner pounded the door anxiously, apparently losing patience, before his angry footsteps retreated down the porch. I waited a moment. Then I opened the door. The storm had added several inches of snow overnight. The wind pushed it right into my face. We had heard about horrible traffic on the parkway. Commuters had been stuck for hours. People had actually abandoned their cars, instead opting to walk home, and get them later. The local road that led to my house was itself left unblemished by plows or tires. Only a single pair of footprints led from the highway, a few miles away, all the way to our front door. Standing at the end of them, and at the bottom of my front steps, was an ordinary-looking man. At least I thought so. I couldn't see most of his features, at first. He wore black parka, dark pants, and tan Timberland boots. Something about the outfit looked familiar. The man appeared ready to give up and go away as he fumbled for something in his pockets. But I called out to him. I don't know why. Maybe I felt more confident with the bat by my side. Can I help you? The stranger turned at once in relief. He looked to be middle-aged. Dark black hair peeked out through the hood and dangled in front of cool blue eyes. He hopped up the steps immediately and reached out confidently to shake my hand. When he spoke, his voice sounded oddly high-pitched. His breath and coat stunk of some unfamiliar type of old man cologne. Oh, thank God. Sir, my car broke down on the highway, a few miles from here. The engine is dead. My cell phone is out of battery. I know it's late. But would you mind if I stepped inside and used your phone? I looked the man up and down uneasily. He seemed harmless enough. But, if my older brother taught me one thing, it's don't trust a strange man in your house after hours. I tried to think of a way to let the stranger down easy. Instead, I opted for the truth. Our phone's dead. The power is out here. Sorry about that. He looked wounded, and that definitely stung my conscience a bit. He turned to stare helplessly at the acres of empty, untouched snow before him. 7 or 8 inches had stacked up in some places. Okay. Guess I'd better get walking. I felt a brush of satin before my wife appeared by my side. You could stay here a bit, sir. Until the power comes back? I pushed the door back a bit and whispered angrily to Emily. Before I could say anything, the man nodded graciously and pushed himself past me. He immediately began pulling off waterlogged clothing in our hallway. Upon closer inspection, all of it appeared to be about 3 sizes too small. I thought nothing of it at the time. I will. Go throw this in the dryer, Emily offered. I'll run it when the power comes back. She disappeared down the stairs as the man made himself comfortable on my couch. He pulled out an old cell phone and stared down in surprise. You know, that's a pretty sweet wife you got there, he giggled as I wiped up the mess. Pretty sweet indeed. Wish I had one that sweet. The words made my skin crawl. Emily waltzed up from the basement in a hurry and smiled happily to both of us in the living room. Sorry about that. Hopefully the power comes back soon. I wanted to say something to her. But not in front of the creep. He stared at her like a dog eyeing a brand new bone. I suddenly noticed the shorts she was wearing. I noticed the lack of a bra. We were just in bed, after all. And the stranger seemed to notice too. Say, honey, do you work out a lot? He asked. My wife blushed and covered herself apologetically. She always looked for the best in people. And she had heard her fair share of inappropriate jokes in the day. Oh, I should put something on. Excuse me. I moved to follow her into the bedroom as a familiar jingle danced its way towards the couch. Oh. Look at that. You've got yourself a fat cat. My tuxedo kitten, Figaro, hopped happily onto the couch and into the man's outstretched arms. He purred at the attention from such new and strange company. The man happily allowed his face to be licked and pawed. He reached out and snatched Fig up in his burly arms. Yeah. Loves attention, I explained awkwardly. The man smiled a toothy grin in my direction as he offered generous pecks to Figaro's confused forehead. Oh, they all do, they all do. You know, they say cats are one of the only animals to prefer human interaction to food. They tested it, in a lab somewhere. Isn't that something? I nodded and said nothing. Something about the way he squeezed Figaro closer to him made me uncomfortable. You know, I could snap this cat's neck right now, and he'd let me do it. That did it. I'm sorry if this is rude. But I think you should leave. The stranger blinked. The atmosphere in my living room changed in an instant. A moment's hesitation caused Figaro to hiss and jump through his weakened grip. The ringing bell disappeared down the stairs. Well, doesn't seem very Christian of you. I grabbed the bat still resting up against my front door. My wife called out from the bedroom. Matt, is everything all right? I shouted my reply without ever taking my eyes off the stranger in front of me. Stay in the bedroom and lock the door. He got to his feet lazily. He was smiling. Like the threat of me holding a bat amused him. Maybe that wasn't such a bad assertion. At his full height, the stranger stood well over 6 feet tall, and easily dwarfed my scrawny 5 feet 10 inches. Yes, Emily, stay in bed. I'll be done with your husband shortly. He advanced in a flash. And so I swung the bat like it was an instinct of my own. My brother always told me, if you get in a fight with a bigger man, aim for his knees. And so I did exactly that. I leaned the small cylinder of metal directly across the stranger's kneecaps like my life depended on it. I think it did. The stranger's knee shattered like a piece of glass. Emily later said she could hear the impact from our bedroom. My next blow went to his face. A double tap, if you will. I grabbed the jerk by his collar and immediately dragged him the hell out of my house. I left him by the foot of our porch and locked the door. I joined Emily in the additionally locked bedroom as she frantically described our situation to dispatch on her now working cell phone. Officers were making their way towards our house. But the snow impeded their travel. We heard someone dragging themselves up the steps. We heard him try to jimmy the door handle. After several unsuccessful attempts, he screamed at us through the night, and then went quiet. I stood with the bat against my shoulder and waited for him to come back. But it never came to that. You might think I overreacted. I assure you, I didn't. Police officers swarmed my house approximately an hour later. They found the stranger unconscious by the front porch of our home. We described the entire situation to the detectives exactly as I have here. Word for word. The man was arrested and processed accordingly. A few hours later, additional officers were sent to check in on my neighbors. It was a routine activity. They just wanted to see if they could garner more witnesses. What they found precluded that necessity. The stranger made a previous stop that night. 2 miles down the road sat a nice family. Husband, wife, 2 young daughters around my sister's age. They were murdered inside their own home. Every single last one of them. Mom, dad, and daughters. The stranger left 4 bodies, untouched, sitting and waiting by the front door. The only items missing from the household were one daughter's snow clothes, a black parka, dark pants, and tan Timberland boots.